Yo guys, Phoenix 3 here, and today I'm gonna roast Smogon again because I cannot believe the way the community is like losing their collective shit right now over Arena Trap. For those of you who don't know, you probably do know if you're watching this video, but Smogon is deciding to suspect test Arena Trap for OU, and the way that works is if it gets banned in OU, it gets banned in every other tier below it. So basically, they're calling for an outright ban of Arena Trap. Their arguments are, well, it makes one of the biggest mechanics in the game, switching. It takes that away from the player. It takes away the chance to choose a favorable matchup. And, I agree with that. I do believe that switching is an important part of Pokemon. This is part of the reason I don't like Shadow Tag, is because it restricts everything from retreating. It's not like it just restricts a handful of Pokemon. It prevents anything from retreating. Normal types, flying types, rock. It doesn't matter what you are. Once that Mega Gengar comes down, which is part of the reason it was banned in the first place, is Shadow Tag is just, it's too good. It affects everything. So they're calling for the ban of this move. The thing that kind of bugs me a little bit is, it's not even a little bit, because this still goes back to like my whole Stealth Rock rant. But the thing that bugs me a lot about this is that they have options to counter this move or ability. They have ways to get around it. You can use flying type Pokemon. You can use Pokemon with levitate. There's an item in the game that will get you out of a situation like that. But people already use things like Volt Switch, U-turn. Those are ways to get out of it. A lot of these things are super situational, sure, but there are ways to get around it. Like, you guys see the teams that I use. There is no Doug Trio that's coming in on me that's going to lock me in place. The only thing on my team it locks down right now is Decidueye, which Decidueye doesn't really give two fucks about, because there's nothing a Doug Trio's going to do to a Decidueye. And my Vaporeon, which also doesn't give two fucks about a Doug Trio, because I hate it with a Scald and is dead. My Pidgeot is unaffected. My Zapdos is unaffected. I got some other bird Pokemon on my team that's unaffected. My Cresselia is unaffected. You know, for the most part, the majority of my team doesn't care about Arena Trap. The one thing it does care about, though, is Stealth Rocks. So I decided to get on Showdown and jump into the OU room, because I was just logging in to watch some people play, and I get this message: OU is suspect testing Arena Trap. I'm like, what's Arena Trap? And I had to remember, I was like, oh yeah, that's that ability that Doug Trio has that locks things that don't fly in on battle against it. And I'm like, why is that getting banned? There's nothing wrong with that ability at all. And this is me as the bird guy talking, I don't have any problems with this. So I go on and ask them, I was like, why are they suspect testing Arena Trap? And they're like, oh, because it's broken. I'm like, broken? What's wrong with it? Can't you guys just use like flying types or something? Like, there are things you can use to get around this. And they were like, well, it takes away the ability to switch. I should be able to freely switch my Pokemon around. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but if you don't want to get trapped with the ability, use a bird or something that flies. That should be fine. And they were like, well, I can't do that because, Stealth Rock hurts me, and why should I have to risk losing a large amount of my HP just so I can get around a broken ability? And I was like, then why don't you just ban Stealth Rock, so that way you can use flying Pokemon to get around this ability? And they were like, well, we can't get rid of Stealth Rock, because if we do, then that leaves Dragonite unchecked, it leaves Volcarona unchecked, that leaves Charizard unchecked, it leaves a bunch of things unchecked that they don't want to be able to deal with. So I responded to them, I was like, okay, so let me get this straight. You refuse to ban a move that hurts a specific type of Pokemon, the flying type for this example, and other flying type Pokemon like Yanmega. So you refuse to ban Stealth Rock, which would allow you to use a type a little bit better that can get around Arena Trap. But since you don't want to ban Stealth Rock, people that are actually good at the game decided that they can use a Doug Trio to lock your flying or your non-flying Pokemon in place and punish you for not using a flying type. And now you're complaining that anything that you use that sits on the ground gets stuck in battle essentially dies to something because you're not using a flying type that that the people playing the meta don't want to use because they lose too much, damage to Stealth Rocks. Like it perplexes me how this community of people who think they are good at this game will turn around and sit down and make these wild claims. It's like there's something here that you can do, but you're not going to do it. It's like if there was an argument that Shadow Tag should be banned, I would be in support of that because it prevents everything from switching. This is part of the reason why I don't like Stealth Rock, is because there's no way to get around it. It's like, sure, you can use Defog or whatever, but everything that learns Defog dies horribly to Stealth Rocks anyway. It's not like Spikes. It's not like Toxic Spikes, where there are certain things that can get around this. It doesn't affect everyone. Shadow Tag affects everyone. Stealth Rock affects everyone. And this here is inherently overpowered. It's broken, which is the reason why you get rid of it. But because they love Stealth Rock so much, they refuse to actually look at the actual problem, which is they effectively removed like 5 types from the game, and now that people are using not these types, people decided to adapt. Well, maybe I just use a Doug Trio, I lock that Magearna in place, and I knock it out. Oh, my opponent is sending in a Tapu Lily, I guess I can switch something in on it, lock it in place, and revenge kill it. Like, this isn't a problem for me as a player because, I mean, my team isn't the most well-constructed team, but if you remove, Stealth Rocks from the equation, then my team isn't that bad. I have to overcompensate for Stealth Rocks, which means I'm not running something else on my team. Because of the way I choose to run my team, I have to have like 2 or 3 Pokemon on my team with Defog. That's a Pokemon not running Toxic. That's a Pokemon not running something else is going to help my team do better. So when I come across these teams and they're throwing out Stealth Rocks, they're like, oh yeah, this is going to be an easy win. This guy's going to lose 25% of his health every time he switches something in. That's just something I got to deal with if I'm choosing to play in Smogon's meta. But they love Stealth Rocks so much, they refuse to actually look at the problem, which is the fact that they aren't getting rid of Stealth Rocks. If they got rid of Stealth Rocks, more people will use more flying Pokemon, which means teams are now more immune to Arena Trap. Sure, there are 2 Pokemon on my team that get affected by it, but Vaporeon and Decidueye don't really care about being stuck in there. What's a Doug Trio going to do to a Vaporeon? What's a Doug Trio going to do to a bulky Decidueye? Shoot, I keep Spirit Shackle on my Decidueye. I hit him with a Spirit Shackle and set up on him, and now what they going to do to me? They can't do anything to me. They have to sit there and take it while I +6 my Decidueye with Swords Dance, and then hit him with something. So, there are things they can do, but rather than look at the problem for what it is, they rather just get rid of Arena Trap. Now, they told me that if you feel that way, you can just, play the suspect tests and go from there. But the thing is, I don't care enough to do that. Arena Trap doesn't affect me at all. But this here is just a matter of principle. Rather than look at something that would change the game, that would help people get better at it, they rather completely remove it from the game. And the clearly broken things that are in the game, they decide to keep around. I have people rage quit on me because I'm using an offensive Zapdos, and then I get called a scrub because nobody runs an offensive Zapdos. It's like, Well, I do because, you know, I know I can get away with it. It's not even about the Zapdos at this point. It's just, I just can't believe that they are still at this. And I could choose to not care about it, but I simply can't because if I want to play in a meta that isn't Smogon, I still have to follow the rules of Smogon, or I don't find matches. On Poke Beach, it's the same way. They follow Smogon's rules. If I happen to be on random Wi-Fi, you know, they expect me to adhere to these rules, and I simply don't. I feel the fact that Smogon won't ban Stealth Rock is damaging the meta. As you can see here, people are deciding, well, if I can't hurt something that much with Stealth Rocks, then I might as well lock something in place. And this is going to hurt things like Metagross. You know, you send that in on the Doug Trio, it gets locked in there, and now it's going to have to eat an Earthquake. The other thing that I just don't like about this is, well, once again, without banning Stealth Rocks, it favors certain types. Like, you have no idea how many Mega Venusaurs that I run into. And in an actual balanced meta where there's more risk. But this is actually not more risk. It's more of a balance between give and take. But when a meta balances out, you have to risk using something, and the risk really isn't all that big. But I see a lot of Mega Venusaurs around. And when I Mega Evolve my Pidgeot into Mega Pidgeot, they quit. And that's because their team isn't a their team it just can't deal with a flying type. And this here is the problem that they created, is a lot of Pokemon are used in abundance in Smogon that you would never see on a VGC team. Like, you will never see an abundance of grass types or fire types. Well, Smogon doesn't even use fire types. What am I talking about? Fighting types. Like, we see all these Pokemon that people use because there are no counters for them, and people aren't using the counters because there's no Stealth Rocks, or not because there's no Stealth, because there is Stealth Rocks. Nobody's going to risk using a fire, a flying, an ice, or a bug type because they lose 25 to 50% of their HP on a switch in. So this favors the grass types, this favors the fighting types, it favors the metal types because no one is using their weaknesses on stab-based damage. And as a matter of fact, ever since Game Freak nerfed Talonflame, like, nobody even uses Talonflame anymore. I don't even know where Talonflame's relevance is on the tier list, but I'm just looking at it. It's like Smogon created a problem that they could fix by banning Stealth Rock. But because they're not banning Stealth Rock, they are choosing to ban something else that isn't a problem. Shadow Tag, sure, you can get rid of that and nobody will care. But Arena Trap, this is a completely different ball game. It's like spikes and toxic spikes. It doesn't affect everything. If you have a flyer on your team, which every team should run, then you're immune to this. Naturally, you can have Pokemon on your team that aren't as affected by Arena Tag or Arena Trap. That's what it's called, right? Arena Trap? I don't even remember what it's called. Let me check real quick. I've been saying it this whole time, and pretty sure, yeah, Arena Trap. All right. So, or you could use Pokemon on your team that aren't that affected by it. Like, I think a Doug Trio does like 17% to a Vaporeon. Decidueye resists. You still have to deal with the Sucker Punch, but a Sucker Punch isn't going to deal like more than 40% on a Decidueye. But it doesn't matter because you're +6 right now, and you can bait out all of the Sucker Punches after the first one. They can use it, what, 8 times? You hit them with the Spirit Shackle, you eat a Sucker Punch initially, but then they can't retreat. Then you set up on them. And then when they run out of Sucker Punches, what are they going to do? Hit you with an Earthquake? It doesn't matter. There are Pokemon that are really affected or effective against it, and they don't want to use it. Like, they want to use their Tapu Kokos. They want to. It's like, I'm just going to jump on OU right quick, just to see what type of teams that like people were running. Let's see, where's a high rated player? We got a 1478. Yeah, they're doing a suspect test. Like this guy's team here, he's using Greninja, Latios, Tapu Koko, um, Landorus T, Charizard, which I assume is Charizard X, yeah, just Mega Ball into Charizard X, and Ferrothorn. Like those are the teams that they want to use. They don't care about, you know, potential balance. This guy has a Charizard Y on his team with a Venusaur. Like you would never see, like you'll never see a Venusaur on a team. Like I mean, I guess you'll see a Venusaur on a Charizard Y team, but still, like the fact that you have powerful flying types that can use stab moves would make them not want to use it. But because they created this meta where nobody is using these types, they can get away with doing whatever it is that they want. And I mean, I guess that's all I got to say about that. It's like I just find it funny that they actually are seriously having this conversation. Well, I want to be able to switch my Pokemon. Arena Trap goes against one of the most important topics of a Pokemon battle, and that's the fact that you can't switch. It's over centralizing. It's all of these other things. But when I raise these exact same arguments about Stealth Rock, it's like, you're just a scrub. Oh, you're using the Articuno? Nobody should ever be using Articuno. It's 4 times weak to Stealth Rock. It's like, no fucking duh. That's the reason I'm making the argument in the first place, you dumbass. It's because though Pokemon should lose 50% of its health switching in. They just shouldn't. You would never do something like that. Like, it's just unbalanced. And people are saying that Arena Trap is uncompetitive. It's only uncompetitive because you are refusing to use the counters to it. Put a bird on your team. Oh, well, I can't put a bird on my team because of Stealth Rocks. Then ban Stealth Rocks and put a bird on your team. Well, if we ban Stealth Rocks, then we have to worry about Volcarona, Charizard, and Dragonite. Then I don't know what to tell you. This is one of those, pick your poison type of thing. Either ban Stealth Rocks and have a much better matchup against Arena Trap, something that I'm just not seeing on a ladder at all. I mean, apparently people are using it, but I don't ever run into it. But when I run into it, it's like I don't really care because it does nothing to my team. Or you just have to sit down and deal with the fact that somebody's going to lock your Magearna in place and knock it out with Earthquake. And I guess the other Pokemon is Magnezone has the ability Magnet Pull. It only affects Metal type Pokemon and they can't retreat. Like, that's fair because it doesn't affect everything. But if your opponent happens to have a Skarmory, then you can prevent it from retreating and then you knock it out. Like, that's the whole purpose of trapping something in, is you trap it, you knock it out. Arena Trap doesn't affect everything. It should be okay. Shadow Tag affects everything. That is not okay because there's nothing you can do about it. Once that Shadow Tag hits the board, it's a done deal. Who else has Shadow Tag? Gothitelle? It's like, what other Pokemon have that ability? I know Gothitelle has it. It might be the only other one. I mean, you got Mega Gengar, but I think Smogon banned Mega Gengar. I don't know. I really don't have an opinion on it, but I think this is just a bunch of scrubs getting together who think they're good, and they're losing to something that they don't want to take balance with. It's ban Stealth Rocks, you put a bird on your team, and you have a much better matchup against the fucking Arena Trap. You put a Vaporeon on your team or Suicune, something that doesn't care what Doug Trio does. You force it out. Like, there are a number of things that they could do about this, and they don't even want to do it. Everything is uncompetitive if it beats their cookie cutter teams, and that's just the way that I'm just seeing it. I don't understand this at all, because when something is good against me, I try to find a way to fix it. Stealth Rocks is strong against my team, so I overcompensate by having more Pokemon with a default. That means I can't run something else, but that's what I have to do if I want to improve my team's chances of winning. Smogon doesn't want to run something else. They want to have an answer to everything. They want to have these full offensive attackers on their team, and they can't dare, waste a moveset on something like Haze or Clear Smog to remove a Pokemon status effects. Something like a Murkrow with Prankster is really good for that role. Your opponent gets a huge speed boost. Well, you throw in a Prankster Haze and you reset everything. Your Murkrow probably dies, but you got another chance to not screw up again. Um, Rather than use things to get around evasion, they choose to just, straight up ban it. It's like, well, Mega Pidgeot can't miss. You can use Mega Pidgeot on your team if you are afraid of evasion modifiers. You also have evasion modifiers you can use yourself. You can Psych Up, which I believe doesn't miss. So you Psych Up their evasions, and now your Pokemon is +6. You can Haze it. You can Clear Smog it. There are attacks in the game that don't miss. But instead of doing any of that, they rather just ban it, because why would they want to put Heavy Slam on something? Why not just have like another move in the game that can hit something else or super effective? No, that's just how they kind of play this game, as opposed to making their teams as well prepared for things as they possibly can. They rather just ban it. And the thing is, you're not going to be able to counter everything, and I've accepted that. But you can do your best to get around things that are strong against you, or things that you personally have problems with. And they can do something about Arena Trap. They can put more flyers on their team. They can put a Pokemon that flies on their team. Or levitates. You run Gengar. Gengar doesn't get trapped. The Lottie twins don't get trapped. Cresselia doesn't get trapped. There might be a Pokemon with an ability that's unaffected by other abilities. There's so much they can do. They can roar it out. They can just kill it and be done with it. Switch in something that has a favorable matchup against it, because Dugtrio is not the strongest Pokemon in the game. I think it's like base 70 attack or something like that. It might be lower than that. I got Showdown open. Let me see. What is Dugtrio's like base stats? I'm pretty sure it's like it's not like, I know it's not high enough, because when I see it, I don't ever like, it's base 100. I thought it was base 70. Like, this thing never hits me hard at all, so I'm surprised. I thought it might be like base 65 or 70. But it's not that powerful a Pokemon. It's like, in most cases, you're not going to care about it. But yeah, it's base 100. I totally didn't know that. Also learned Alolan Dugtrio is slower. So Mega Pidgeot is faster than Dugtrio, all of them. So that's good to know. But that's pretty much, the thing there. It's not that big a threat. You can send anything in you want against it and knock it out and be better off. You eliminate it. But if they want to ban it, then it's whatever. It doesn't affect me. But I think they're missing the huge issue here, and that's that the main problem is Stealth Rock. And if they ban Stealth Rock, then more people are going to be willing to use flying type Pokemon, which inherently give teams a better matchup against Arena Trap. I think one of the Flygon lines get it too. But that's going to be it for this video. I want to know what you guys think about this, because I think it's funny that they are this scared of this move that they can't even like try to just play better, I guess. So this has been Phoenix 3. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one.